During locomotion, terrestrial four-legged animals move their limbs in a regular sequence. When traveling in a straight line on smooth terrain at a constant speed, the sequence and pattern of their movements form a regular cyclical pattern. Different cyclical patterns are called gaits. Examples are the walk, trot, and gallop. Some familiar terms, such as run and prance, do not constitute gaits, but indicate some other quality, such as speed or style. The best way to analyze gaits is by slow-motion photography. In symmetrical gaits, such as the walk, each of the front or hind feet moves alternately in a regular sequence and with even timing. Watch the hind feet of this bison. Right, left, right, left, and so on. Symmetrical gaits have two main variables: the fraction of the cycle that each foot is on the ground, and the relation between the movements of the front feet and the hind feet. If ground contact lasts for 70 to 80% of the cycle, as in this yak, the gait is a slow walk. If it lasts for 60 to 70% of the cycle, as in this Gerenuk, the gait is a moderate walk. If it lasts for 50 to 60% of the cycle, as in this African elephant, the gait is a fast walk. If ground contact lasts for less than half of the cycle, as in this young Indian rhinoceros, the animal is running. When the front and hind feet on the same side of the body move forward and backward synchronously, as demonstrated in this computer animation, the gait is a pace. Pacing minimizes interference between front and hind feet, which is a potential problem for long-legged animals. Pacing can be used for either slow or rapid locomotion. A slow pace is the gait being used by this Patagonian cavy, a large, long-legged South American rodent, and also by this ranch horse. It is unusual for a horse to pace this slowly. Large, long-legged dogs frequently pace when traveling at moderate speeds. This allows them to take long strides without causing interference between the front and hind feet. Harness horses can be trained to pace at high speed. When the feet strike the ground one at a time, and the front foot that strikes after a given hind foot is on the same side of the body, the gait has lateral sequence. This okapi, a relative of the giraffe, shows a lateral sequence walk. Left, left, right, right, left, left, and so on. This gait is characteristic of long-legged grazers and most carnivores. A lateral sequence gait in which the footfalls are evenly spaced is called a single foot. This tapir, like many forest dwellers, uses a lateral sequence single foot when walking slowly. This peccary is also using a lateral sequence single foot. Although fruit bats are more at home in the air than on the ground, this young animal can crawl using the single foot. The most rapid gait of an elephant is a fast-walking single foot. The smooth nature of this gait and the continuity of support which it affords are important to so large a mammal. Dogs rarely single foot. However, this pack-carrying German Shepherd has chosen the single-foot gait rather than its more customary trot because the single foot is smoother and keeps the load from bouncing. This horse is using the same single-foot gait used by the pack-carrying German Shepherd, but its style is much more elegant. Horsemen call this the slow gait. Now, the same horse employs a faster single foot, a gait which horsemen call the rack. Notice how smooth the ride is. An example of an extremely fast, smooth-flowing single foot is the gait used by this Tennessee walking horse. Its strides are unusually long and its feet remain close to the ground. If the front footfall lags a little more behind the rear footfall on the same side, the lateral sequence is still retained, but the cadence now involves legs on diagonally opposite sides of the body as couplets. This slowly walking salamander is using a lateral sequence gait with diagonal couplets. The tenrec, a small insectivore from Madagascar, uses the same gait but as a moderately rapid walk. Horses can be trained to use this gait. This Peruvian Paso horse employs it as a fast walk. When diagonally opposite feet move synchronously as shown in this animation, the gait is a trot. The trot is most often used by mammals when traveling at moderate speeds, but this elephant shows that it's also possible to trot very slowly. A slow-moving trot is a favorable gait for wide-bodied reptiles like this caiman, with legs that spraddle out laterally. The line of mechanical support extends diagonally across the body and passes under the center of gravity, which minimizes rolling. Lizards usually trot during medium-fast locomotion. However, their front legs are shorter than their hind legs, so when moving at high speed, some fast-running species lift the front legs off the ground and run bipedally. This pattern of bipedal running is obviously derived directly from the trot. Long-legged dogs usually pace, but this Great Dane shows that a long-legged dog can trot without interference between the front and hind feet if it moves slowly. Horses often travel at a moderately fast trot, but this gait is not nearly as smooth as the single foot, and the horseman must post to avoid a rough ride. Deer can move very rapidly when trotting. Notice the light, graceful, and springing movements of this mule deer. The orangutan often uses a diagonal sequence, diagonal couplet walk. A front foot strikes the ground next after the hind foot on the opposite side of the body. To avoid interference, it swings each hind foot to the same side of the respective front foot. The same gait is used by this giant armadillo. Asymmetrical gaits are gaits in which the feet of a pair do not strike the ground at equally spaced intervals. Watch the hind feet of this galloping horse. They strike the ground in rapid succession, then there's an interval when they are both off the ground. The foot that reaches farthest forward in each cycle is called the leading foot. This horse is leading with its left feet, both front and rear. This young Indian rhinoceros is also galloping with a left lead, both front and rear. This guanaco, a relative of llamas and camels, is using a right lead. When a galloping animal uses the same lead for both front and hind legs, its gait is called a transverse gallop. This gait provides maximum balance and is used by many large mammals that live in open terrain. If different leads are used for the front legs and the hind legs, the gait is called a rotary gallop. This cheetah is using a right lead in back and a left lead in front. The rotary gallop is good for maneuvering, and it is used by predators such as the cheetah, and also by some prey species, such as this Chinese deer. If the hind feet strike the ground simultaneously, but the front feet come down one at a time, the gait is called a half bound. The half bound is used commonly by small to medium-sized mammals, such as this spotted skunk. Anthropoid apes occasionally use a gait, the crutch walk, that is just the reverse of the half bound. The arms move in unison, but the feet move one at a time. An elderly gibbon demonstrates. When an animal leaps with both hind feet in unison and lands on its front feet in unison, the gait is called a bound. Here a jumping mouth shows how it is done. Mammals that employ bipedal hopping for rapid locomotion often use the bound when traveling slowly. For example, watch this kangaroo rat alternately hopping and bounding. It is probable that bipedal hopping evolved from bounding. Bipedal hopping is also called the ricochet. Like other animals that use the ricochet, the kangaroo rat, a rodent, holds its body horizontal and uses its tail as a counterbalance. The elongated hind legs are extended far forward at the end of each hop and strike the ground below the head. The kangaroo rat weighs less than 1/1000th as much as the red kangaroo, a marsupial. Nevertheless, they have similar locomotor patterns. The pronk is a bound in which the front and hind feet strike the ground simultaneously. The pronk is commonly used by the mule deer, as seen here. It is especially effective in rough terrain. It is also used by antelope when they play, and sometimes it serves as a social signal. At slow or moderate rates of travel, mammals usually keep at least 1 foot in contact with the ground. When doing so, they are said to move without suspensions. That is, they are never suspended in the air. Watch this Peruvian Paso horse and this cantering saddle horse. However, when moving at high speeds, nearly all mammals use suspensions. This galloping German Shepherd has all 4 feet off the ground once in each cycle. This type of suspension is called a gathered suspension because all 4 feet are gathered together under the body. The gathered suspension is also characteristic of horses, rhinoceroses, and camelids. Other mammals, like this deer, use an extended suspension. Once in each cycle, all of the feet are off the ground, and during this suspension, the legs are fully extended. The fastest-running mammals, greyhounds, cheetahs, gazelles, pronghorns, and jackrabbits, use both gathered and extended suspensions when galloping at high speed. The jackrabbit uses a relatively prolonged extended suspension and a shorter gathered suspension. Notice the extreme flexion and extension of its spinal column and the marked rotation of its shoulder blades. Four-footed animals vary greatly in size and shape. When watched in slow motion, their gaits are revealed to be remarkably graceful and beautifully adapted for maneuverability, speed, balance, and type of terrain.